Hello, Sir Rico. Good evening. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, Sir
Hello.
George. Yes, Sir
Oh,
George. Go on. Clear, loud and clear.
so before I'm going to present my research, I would like to greet each and everyone in a pleasant evening. Okay, so tonight I'm going to present to you my research entitled Exploring Traditional Ecological Knowledge in Kalinga Province, Practices, Preservation, and Perspective. So without so much ado, I would like to begin my presentation by saying uh, climate change has been increasing everywhere. So some parts of the world are experiencing extreme weather conditions, hot and cold. Some places around the world experiencing too much rainfall, and some experiencing less rainfall. So Kalinga province is not exempted from the effects of climate change. Well, in fact, some municipalities in Kalinga have produced less rice production because of less water supply brought about by climate change. Now, there is a growing recognition around the world that traditional ecological knowledge practices can mitigate climate change. So, well, some scholars would even say that we need to go back to traditional ecological knowledge to fight the effect of climate change. So it is for this reason that I'm taking this study to to find out how uh, the province of Kalinga can help in mitigating climate change by, of course, practicing the traditional ecological knowledge. So, like what I mentioned a while ago, the title of my presentation is Exploring the Traditional Ecological Knowledge in Kalinga Province, Practices, Perspectives, and Preservation. So it is actually the focus is on understanding how indigenous peoples in Kalinga have been able to preserve the natural environment through generations of practicing traditional ecological knowledge and mitigate the effect of climate change. So Kalinga is located within the Cordillera Administrative Region in Luzon. It's known for its mountainous terrain and longest river uh, called Chico River. Well, I say longest river because there are some scholars who would say that actually Chico River is longer than Cagayan River, but it was never been acknowledged and recorded. So going back to the indigenous people of Kalinga. So the indigenous people of Kalinga has diverse ethnic groups and diverse dialects. So the people of Kalinga is composed of many different subtribes with different languages. Now, there are so many researches made uh, around the world talking about traditional ecological knowledge. However, in Kalinga, little research has been done on the specific practices, preservation, efforts, and perspectives of indigenous communities in Kalinga province. It is on this context that my research will come in to present the traditional ecological knowledge practices of the people of Kalinga. So, in my study, I use qualitative research, in-depth interview, and focus group discussion was used, and 3 primary research objectives guided my study. First, objectives to document the various forms of traditional ecological knowledge held by the indigenous communities in Kalinga. Second, to assess the role of traditional ecological knowledge in the sustainable use and management of local natural resources in Kalinga. Third, to examine the current threats to the preservation of traditional ecological knowledge among the Kalinga people and the factors contributing to knowledge erosion. Am I still loud and clear, Sir Rico?
Yes, go on, Sir George.
Okay, so the participants in my studies were the elders of the different subtribes of the province of Kalinga with a total of 24 respondents. The instrument I use in this study is interview. And for the data gathering procedures, ethical research practices were followed. Authorization was obtained for data access. Face-to-face interviews and focal group discussion were utilized for the subtribes representation. As to the analysis of data, interview responses were meticulously reviewed and categorized to identify various traditional ecological knowledge utilized across different subtribes of Kalinga. So thematic analysis was used. So let's now proceed with the results and discussion. So in my first objectives, I am going to document the various forms of traditional ecological knowledge held by the indigenous people. So in my first objectives, I asked this question: what plants are used in your traditional medicine practices and for what purposes? And these are the common responses of the participants. So these are the different medicinal plants they use. First, they have the makabuhay. They call it makabuhay. And they use this, the respondents said they use this to help cure malaria and stomach aches. And then next medicinal plant is called bua. And the respondents said that they use this they use this for oily diarrhea, and they use this. Some said they chew mama to keep them alert and energized, and they said they use this to aid digestion after having meals. So another medicinal plants they use, they call it the skylab. So these plants they use it to stop bleeding. And some respondents also said they use this to prevent infection of open cut wound. Next medicinal plants they use, they call it the otol di gayabat. The respondents said they use this medicine for wound cleansing and for healing. And some of the respondents also said they use this for curing diarrhea and stomach ache. And some of the respondents also said they use this for treating diabetes. Okay, we also have, they also use dangla. The respondents said they use this in treating influenza. Some of the respondents also said they use this for curing arthritis and rheumatism. And some said they use this as an effective medicine in curing dry cough and asthma. They also use tagumbao, and they use this to reduce fever. The respondents also said they use this to reduce pain like headaches and stomach aches and arthritis. They also said they use this to expel intestinal parasites like bulate. And they also use this lotan di apaya. This is a medicinal plant used for, as an anti-rabies. Some of the respondents said they use this to treat skin rashes, wounds, and insect bites. Some of them also said they use this to reduce muscle pain and to treat bacteria and fungal infections. And last, they also use this lingua. The respondents said they use this to treat skin diseases like skin white marks and ringworms. Some of them also said they use this to heal wounds and burns. And some of them said they use this to treat cough and colds and headaches. So same under the first objectives, I also asked this question: what traditional farming methods are used for rice cultivation in your community? So actually, the traditional farming methods is arranged from preparing the land to the storing of the dried rice crops. So first, is the preparation of the land. So here the respondents would first clear the land by removing weeds. They call this sagawsaw. And after that, they use the lenas or pinas, where they cut bamboo trees and use it to flatten the paddy field. And then the third process would be the use of the carabaos. They use the carabao to plow the soil, and the farmers will use 5 to 10 water buffalo to tread on the paddy field for cultivation. And after that, during the planting, the farmers will carefully select the indigenous rice varieties that were to be planted. Okay, so they would plant the rice seedlings in rows, carefully spacing them to allow for optimal growth. Next is in the maintaining the fields, the farmers would carefully manage the water flow. So they would ensure that the land is properly irrigated. So they would also manually weed the fields. They call this olag, where rice seedlings are planted in the paddy fields by the farmers. They manually plant this rice variety. And harvesting, so after 4 months, the people will now harvest, they call this ani. They use pounded sunflower as an alternative pest control method to drive away insects. And the tools they use in harvesting, they called it lakum. It is a knife they use to harvest the rice, which is after that they tied it with anos called binatok and hung on the aladoy to dry it in the sun. And the last is the storage. The dried rice pala is stored in alang, a traditional rice storage house. Okay. Now, under my second objective, to assess the role of traditional ecological knowledge in the sustainable use and management of local natural resources in the Kalinga province, I asked this question: what are some of the community-led techniques used for forest conservation and water resource management in Kalinga? So these are the common answers of the respondents. Okay, so these are the community-led forest and water conservation they do. First, they prohibit cutting of trees, garbage, dumping, and burning. So there are specific trees that they protect, like lupa, alimit, tabeg, and liuliw. They believe that this produces clean water. So they protect this. They prohibit cutting this kind of trees. Okay. And then, of course, the community also prohibits throwing garbage and in the forest, and they prohibit garbage dumping and burning with penalties in place for offenders. Okay. And then, number 2, reverence for nature. So the people of Kalinga, before they cut trees, they perform rituals such as offering butchered chicken to the forest spirits to prevent sickness and accidents. The community believes in signs like idaw and snakes as potential dangers and avoid using water sources as dumping areas to prevent injuring the forest spirits. They also have a tradition called songa, where they offer butchered chicken and blood to spirits before cutting trees. And if a tree is found to be trapped by vines, it is left untouched as a sign that the spirit does not permit its cutting. So additionally, they also avoid butchering dogs near water sources to prevent the spirits from being scared, which could stop the flow of water. The community also believes in fertility wells, which are believed to grant the wishes of couples who are not able to bear children. So these fertility wells are found in Lubuagan, Tinglayan, and Barangay Nanay in Tabuk City. The community takes care of these fertility wells, preserving them for future generations who may need them, and maintaining their cleanliness and surroundings. Okay, under the same objectives, I asked the question, What practices from your traditional ecological knowledge are or could be beneficial in adapting to or mitigating the effects of climate change? So here are their ways of climate change adaptation and mitigation. First, they have climate sensitive policies. So the community has a strict policy against burning, which helps mitigate the effects of climate change by considering the consequences of their actions, such as endangering wildlife, plants, and trees if the forest is burned. Their traditional belief also, before they cut trees, they follow specific practices to prevent illness and bad luck, contributing to the protection of trees and forests. Next, their organic farming practices. So by avoiding the use of chemical substances for tasks like removing grass or dealing with insects in rice fields, the community maintains the natural nutrient balance of the soil. Their use of traditional methods like ambay to address insect issues like ingi and dudon to drive them away instead of chemical sprays further showcases their commitment to environmentally friendly practices that support mitigating climate change impacts. Okay. On the same objective, I asked also this question: what traditional belief or values influences how your community interacts with the environment? So these are their values and beliefs. First, they practice moderation. So the elders has been saying to the community that they only need to take, they only get what they need. Okay, and avoid being too greedy. So these principles passed down from the elders, it applies to cutting trees and in hunting animals. So these values and beliefs foster a strong sense of unity among community members, promoting a spirit of brotherhood. Next, observing traditional practices like the PNB, we call it PNB, the Paniyaw, Ngilin, and Bain. Okay, so these core values of the Kalinga applies also in the taking care of their environment. Paniyaw is similar to the research made by Dr. Dumpayan, the Inayan concept is similar to our Paniyaw. Okay, so it's wrong to harm the environment.
2 minutes, Sir George. 2 minutes.
Okay. And then reverence for nature. The community believe in supernatural entities known as the Owen animals, or Anito, or the environmental spirits. Okay. And number 4, observance of rituals and taboos. Before cutting trees, they follow specific practices to prevent illness and bad luck. Okay. Now, on objectives number 3, I asked this question: what is the impact of formal education on the younger generation's perception and practice of traditional ecological knowledge? So their common answer, number 1, transmission of knowledge. The creation of books documenting their practices has allowed these traditions to be passed down through generations. Okay, these books are the outputs of students with master's degree, though it's sad that most of them have not been published. Okay, the Kalinga people have various traditional ecological practices such as the use of medicinal plants and the traditional farming. Okay, and then decline of traditional practices. The introduction of formal education has played a role in the gradual fading of certain traditions. As societies modernize and attitudes shift, practices such as dawak, respect for elders, and sisiwa have dwindled over time. Okay, and then what is the impact of globalization? So these are the impact of globalization in the practice of traditional ecological knowledge in Kalinga province. So team 1, bridging cultural divides. Social media and modern technology have exposed the practices of the indigenous people of Kalinga globally and their traditional ecological knowledge. It also provides other people around the world the platform to view our traditional songs. Example, Uwawi by Arnel Banasan, and dances. Example, Awong Chigangsa at Tundibanga, the sounds of 1,000 gongs and a dance of 1,000 pats, where the people of Kalinga were able to get the Guinness World Record in live broadcasting. The preserved rice terraces of Tinglayan and Chico River that the elders protected have been shown all over social media platforms. And number two, advancements in agriculture and environmental protection. So modernization has improved traditional farming methods. And then tip three, so it destroys communal bonds and traditional cultural practices. So in conclusion, various medical plants, the Kalinga people utilize various plants medicines to address various health concerns. The community protects these medicinal plants because of the many health benefits they give to the people. These traditional practices highlights the deep connection between the community and their natural environment. The plant serves many purposes, from treating wounds and infections to relieving pain and addressing internal ailments. As to traditional rice farming in Kalinga is a labor-intensive process deeply intertwined with the local knowledge and respect for the environment. The traditional methods provide valuable lessons in sustainability, cultural preservation, and the importance of maintaining a harmonious relationship with nature. As to community-led techniques used for water and forest conservation, the people of Kalinga demonstrate a profound respect for nature through its community-led conservation efforts by prohibiting burning activities, performing rituals to appease spirits, and respecting natural signs. They have successfully safeguarded their environment for generations. As to traditional ecological knowledge used in mitigating climate change, the traditional ecological knowledge practices of the Kalinga people have contributed significantly to climate change adaptation and mitigation. Their strict policies against burning, reverence for trees, and commitment to organic farming methods demonstrate a deep understanding of environmental balance and sustainability. So the Kalinga people exemplify a way to address the challenges posed by climate change. As to values and beliefs, the Kalinga community's interaction with the environment is deeply rooted in traditional beliefs and values, emphasizing respect, reciprocity, and responsibility. Practices like moderation, observance of rituals, and reverence for nature passed down through generations foster a strong sense of environmental stewardship. These beliefs protect the natural world and strengthen their community bonds. The Kalinga people demonstrate that traditional ecological knowledge can offer valuable guidance for sustainable living and harmonious coexistence with nature. All of these are encapsulated in the PNB core values. So, impact of formal education. The introduction of formal education has presented opportunities and challenges for transmitting traditional ecological knowledge in the Kalinga community. While it has facilitated the documentation and preservation of cultural practices, potentially reaching a wider audience through books and research, it has also coincided with a decline in the practice of some traditions. Example, respect for elders and the decline in the care of environment in the context of traditional belief. As to impacts of globalization and modernization have both good and bad impacts on the transmission and practice of traditional ecological knowledge in Kalinga province. While they offer valuable tools for cultural exchange and advancement in agriculture and environmental protection, they also destroy communal bonds and traditional practices. Modern entertainment, technology, and changing values have made people forget their traditional ways. So, in my recommendations, public and private schools can incorporate lessons on traditional ecological knowledge into their curriculum, emphasizing change in the worldview of nature from too much anthropocentrism, man as the center that considers nature as object to be manipulated by human, to nature as subject to be respected. This can raise awareness among the younger generation about the importance of traditional practices and foster a sense of pride in their cultural heritage. Number two, the Matagawan Bodong Council can develop programs that engage youth in traditional, cultural, and environmental activities such as tree planting ceremonies, workshops on traditional music and dance, and hands-on learning experiences in sustainable farming practices. Third, local government units should support initiatives that combine traditional agricultural methods with modern techniques to enhance productivity while preserving ecological balance. They may also encourage the use of organic farming practices and traditional pest control methods. Last, elders and LGU must encourage community members to actively participate in documenting their traditional knowledge, practices, and rituals. They should also establish local archives or digital repositories to store this information for future generations. End of my presentation. So thank you all for taking the time to listen and be a part of this presentation. Thank you, distinguished presenters. Thank you, Asian Research Center, for hosting this online roundtable conference on environmental preservation. Matago-tago takolosan.